Yes, everybody, watching the West Ham Network, hope you're safe and well. Oh, here we go again. It's Hammer's Headlines Sensation with the KUMB.com, boys. It's Friday. Another week's gone. West Ham tomorrow. Early start for the bottom. But don't forget, please join me, even from your bed. Just switch it on. West Ham, it's match day morning tomorrow. Be bright and early. Make sure you check it out. Go onto the West Ham page, West Ham Network page, and hit a reminder, all that good stuff. But it's Hammer's Headlines Sensation with the KUMB.com, boys. Lunchtime, we went through a bit of Have You Say Friday. Interesting discussion about Antonio, and he somewhat is the target of a few stories today. Let's get into it, shall we? So let's start with some transfer rumour news, as per usual. According to my favourite Spanish media outlet, 123, Fajijas, West Ham reportedly planning to make a swoop to sign Brighton and Hove Albion star Julio Enciso. And that's next year, apparently, according to the Spanish news outlet. Now, we know Brighton have developed quite a success of signing youngsters, particularly from South America. And that's obviously an area we've had interest in with the likes of Moses Caicedo and Alexis McAllister. And basically, Julio is another one. He's started very well to his life in the Premier League after joining a couple of years ago, really, but now he's already established himself a bit more into Brighton's sort of starting 11. But they could be open to him cashing out on him in the summer. Very similar to what we did with Moses Caicedo and people like that, and Alexis as well. It comes to a point where they then go, right, that's his level, then we'll move him out. One replacement could be, obviously, you come straight in for Julio, would be Ibrahim Osman, who they bought from Northslat last year. He's out on loan at Feyenoord, so, that's sort of the circle of life at Brighton. But the player is entering his final year of his contract at the end of this season. And the possibility is that he may not renew his contract at the Amex. So Brighton could be looking to sell him for a fee of around £25-30 million to avoid losing him for nothing in 2026. Obviously, we are, potentially might have a situation where we haven't, Mohamed Kudus might be sold next summer as part of his release clause. The report from Fajijas has mentioned that West Ham are closely monitoring the situation and are prepared to make a potential swoop to lure him to the London Stadium if he eventually decides to leave next year. The 20-year-old attacking midfielder by trade, but can also play on the left flank. Highly talented, can link up play. I mean, he could be a real top-class star of the future. Maybe he has become a bit frustrated with lack of game time at Brighton, potentially. I don't know, but the likelihood is he might not be interested in signing a new deal with the Seagulls, and West Ham could get a bit of a bargain maybe for him. We know that's part of our mantra, looking at players entering into the final years of their contract in order to get a bargain. And Julio could be one of them, potentially. And now we turn our attention to Michail Antonio. Firstly, it's a story from The Athletic, which revealed that West Ham actually rejected a bid from Brazilian side Guilherme in the summer of £500,000, £500,000 bid was put forward by the Brazilian side, which West Ham duly rejected completely out of hand. Since then, he started every Premier League game under new boss Julian Lopetegui, despite obviously signing the likes of Nicholas Füllkrug, and he has failed to score in any of his 4 outings as well. I mean, it's quite interesting, the whole thing with Antonio. I mean, as I said, we spoke about it quite openly today in the lunchtime show, talking about Antonio. There's definitely a split of opinion. Some people are very pro Antonio, some people are very anti Antonio. He's a very divisive character. I think for me, he's no longer deserves a starting lineup. I don't want to give him a starting lineup for sentimental values because he's our top Premier League goal scorer of all time. Fact is, he's a goal scorer. He's a striker. Hasn't scored for 4 games, 4 starts in the Premier League. Hasn't played very well. and doesn't really look like scoring either. If he was like hadn't scored in 4 or 5 games, but was making the run, was getting shots in, was unlucky, hitting the post, deflections. But to be honest, he hasn't really done anything. It's almost like I think he's gone for the motions a little bit. It might be tiredness. In the Fulham game, I don't think he would have started naturally in the Fulham game if Nicholas Füllkrug was injured coming back from international duty. But it'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow. For me, Antonio's best used as an impact signing. 20 minutes, 30 minutes, get him on, let him run at tired defenders, whether we're chasing the game or even if we're not, if we're winning, just putting him on there for whoever the striker was, just to give the defenders something to think about and to get a CDM for the other side, something to think about, hold him back rather than them going gung-ho trying to get an equaliser, for example. But speaking of Antonio's performances, according to friend of the channel, Roshane Thomas from The Athletic, he has been quoted in saying that Julian Lopetegui was dismayed by Antonio's performance before withdrawing him at half-time against Fulham. His article in The Athletic today detailed how Antonio has now gone 7 games without a goal and has shown a decline in his offensive efficiencies after being persisted with as Lopetegui's first choice striker. He was quoted in saying, against Fulham, it was hard not to read Lopetegui's dismay and Antonio's failure to test the goalkeeper, Bray Leno, or even the defensive duo of Joachim Andersen and Calvin Bassey. The result was Antonio being withdrawn at half-time. West Ham had previously considered the 34-year-old to be their first choice forward, but the decline in his offensive efficiencies is a concern, and he has not scored in his last 7 league games. Again, it gives credence. We know Antonio is entering the twilight of his career. It's in the final year of his contract. He's separating domestic seasons with going on long trips with Jamaica. That was obviously his decision. He's been in and out of the side due to fatigue, minor niggles as well. And I don't think he can be relied upon by Lopetegui, particularly if this ambitious, project. I just think he'll be not cut adrift, but I mean, could it be a last chance saloon for him against Chelsea? We don't know what's happening with Füllkrug in terms of his injury. Jack Rossi, the son's Jack Rossier, was quoted Lopetegui saying that Nicholas was in training and has been training ahead of the Chelsea game and would be assessed, which is always my slight frustration about having the press conference on a Thursday. You've got the get out of jail free card to say, oh, the injury, well, we've still got another day, 24 hours, 48 hours to the game, yada, yada, yada. If you had it on a Friday, you've got to know, innit? You've got to know. But anyway, let's see what happens with Antonio. Let's see what happens tomorrow with Antonio, shall we? And that's it, my friends. Hope you have a very nice rest of the day. As I said, if you're new around here, don't forget to give it a comment, like, share, all that good stuff. Don't forget to check out our friends at Alloy Collectors. They've just released their 1965 metal shirt. The new one's coming out for this season is coming out in the next couple of weeks as well. Use the code WestWHM15 at checkout for 15% off. Although I think there's a site-wide 20% off. So just use that and get extra 5% off. All that good stuff. So anyway, take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble. Keep the faith. Come on, you bloody irons. Irons!